Ever get this feeling like the universe is holding out on us? Like it's got these amazing secrets just tucked away out of sight?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, today we're tackling one of those what ifs that really makes you question what we think we know about the universe.
Definitely.
Extra dimensions.
Right.
Specifically, we're diving into Kaluza-Klein theory,
Right.
and we've got excerpts from 3 physics papers to guide us. Kaluza-Klein theories, that's a good one.
Okay.
Kaluza-Klein vortices,
All right.
and Klein-Gordon oscillator in Kaluza-Klein theory.
So we're going deep.
We're going deep. Now, full disclosure, these papers, they're dense.
Yeah.
But our goal today is to break them down, make them a little less intimidating, kind of like translating rocket science into, I don't know, something everyone can appreciate.
I like.
So imagine this, and tell me if I'm getting this right. If our universe is like this flat sheet,
Okay.
Kaluza-Klein theory is basically saying there might be other sheets, like other dimensions, but they're curled up so small we just don't see them.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Mm.
It's like imagine a hose
Okay.
from a distance looks one-dimensional, right?
Right.
But up close, you see that curled up dimension.
Makes sense. But how does that explain something as, well, fundamental as gravity?
So think back to the 1800s. Electricity, magnetism, they get unified into electromagnetism.
Yeah.
Like, big deal.
Huge.
Then Einstein comes along, unifies space and time with relativity.
Right. It's all connected.
Exactly. And Kaluza and Klein, they were like, what if we keep going with this unification thing? They suggested adding just one more spatial dimension, but curled up incredibly small, to bring gravity and electromagnetism together.
So where's the aha moment in all of this?
The aha is that with this extra dimension, you could suddenly get both gravity and electromagnetism from the same equations.
Elegant.
Exactly. Like surprisingly elegant. And it hinted at this deeper connection, like these forces we thought were separate. Maybe they're just different sides of the same coin.
Okay, that makes sense. But then why haven't we seen this extra dimension? If it's so important, shouldn't it be obvious?
Well, the theory says this extra dimension is curled up super tiny. Like we're talking around the Planck length.
And just how small are we talking?
10 to the power of minus 34 meters.
Okay, so in practical terms.
Think of it this way. If an atom was the size of like the entire observable universe,
Wow.
the Planck length would be like the size of a tree.
So basically way too small for us to see right now. But even if we can't see it, could it still be like the foundation for everything else?
Exactly. Imagine a symphony orchestra.
I love this analogy.
What we hear as music is really all these individual vibrations of the instruments, right?
Right, all working together.
This extra dimension, even if hidden, could be like that, orchestrating the fundamental forces in this incredibly intricate way.
Okay, so we've got this extra dimension potentially explaining gravity, electromagnetism, all curled up in this unbelievably small space.
Yeah.
What else did these papers find lurking around in there?
Well, the second paper we looked at, Kaluza-Klein Vortices, it takes a little detour into the world of magnetic monopole.
Magnetic Monopoles. Okay, I feel like that's a term I've heard before, but to be honest, I need a little refresher.
Sure. So, you know how every magnet has a north and a south pole?
Yeah. Like always.
And you can cut a magnet in half?
Right. Right.
And you just end up with two smaller magnets?
You always have both poles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But magnetic monopoles, they would only have one pole. Just north or just south. Never both.
Wow. Okay. So like the lone wolf of magnetism.
Exactly. And as you can imagine, they've never been conclusively observed.
So why are physicists so fascinated by them? What makes them special?
For one, some pretty important theories predict they should exist.
Okay. Yeah.
But more than that, if we ever did find one, it would mean our understanding of electromagnetism, it's not complete.
Like it would change everything.
Totally. It would be huge, like discovering a whole new continent, but for physics.
Okay, a hidden continent of magnetism. I like it, but I still don't see how this connects back to extra dimensions.
Ah, that's where Kaluza-Klein theory comes in. See, in our regular three-dimensional space, magnetic monopoles, they create some mathematical problems.
Problems how?
They lead to these things called singularities, where the math basically breaks down.
Uh-oh, that doesn't sound good.
No, not good at all. But if you add an extra dimension, suddenly you could have magnetic monopoles without those pesky singularities.
Hold on, how does an extra dimension fix that?
It's like, okay, imagine a tornado.
A swirling vortex of air.
Yeah, exactly. But instead of spreading out in 3 dimensions, it's confined to a 2D plane. That's kind of what happens to the magnetic field of a monopole in Kaluza-Klein theory.
It gets flattened out.
In a way, yeah. It gets trapped in that extra dimension,
Yeah.
forming what we call a Kaluza-Klein vortex.
So instead of a point particle causing a mathematical meltdown, you have this vortex spread out in another dimension, keeping things nice and smooth.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. Remember those magnetic monopoles we were talking about?
Yeah.
These Kaluza-Klein vortices. They could actually be those monopoles.
Whoa, that's a twist. But if these vortices are tucked away in some other dimension, how would we even know to look for them?
Right, well, they'd be incredibly small. And detecting them directly, not easy. But here's where it gets really interesting. The math that describes these vortices, it's strikingly similar to the math used to describe something called minimal surfaces.
Minimal surface. Wait, like soap films?
You got it. Think of a soap film stretched across a wire frame. It always forms that perfectly curved shape.
It's like it's trying to be as efficient as possible, minimizing its surface area, right?
Exactly. And it turns out the math that describes those aesthetically pleasing soap films, it's deeply connected to the math that describes these abstract objects in extra dimensions.
So we could potentially study something as simple as a soap film to learn about these hidden dimensions.
Potentially, yeah. It's a great example of how seemingly unrelated areas of physics can have these crazy, unexpected connections, like the universe is speaking to us in this language of math.
It really is amazing when you think about it. So we've got extra dimensions, maybe explaining these fundamental forces, maybe harboring magnetic monopoles disguised as vortices.
Right.
What else did these papers cover? What other secrets did they unearth? All right, lay it on me. What is this Klein-Gordon oscillator thing, and how does it help us understand these extra dimensions?
Okay, so picture this. You've got this tiny particle, like an electron, and it's attached to a spring, bouncing back and forth.
Right, like a harmonic oscillator.
Exactly. Now, the Klein-Gordon oscillator, it's a theoretical model, like that spring idea.
Okay.
But instead of a physical spring, we're talking about a force field. And this force field, it exists within these extra dimensions.
So they're basically using this oscillator model to simulate how a particle would act if these extra dimensions were real.
Exactly. They're looking for how those extra dimensions, even if we can't see them, would change the way the particle oscillates, how it vibrates.
So, like, does the universe have a good beat? What'd they find?
Well, they took things a step further. They threw in some curved balls, like cosmic string. Yeah, these theoretical defects in space-time. Imagine, like, I don't know, cracks in the fabric of the universe.
Okay, I'm with you.
And then they added magnetic fields into the mix. And what they found was, even these little additions, they could dramatically change the energy levels of the oscillator.
The way it vibrates, you mean?
Yeah, like the universe itself is adding its own special something to how particles behave, depending on where they are, what's around them.
Okay, so it's like each particle has its own little song, and the universe is like conducting the orchestra.
That's a great way to put it. It really highlights this connection between the big stuff, like the structure of the universe, and the really, really small, like the behavior of these tiny particles. Even the tiniest details of these extra dimensions could be affecting things on a fundamental level.
You know, it's kind of mind-blowing when you really think about it, that there might be this whole hidden world right there, just beyond what we can see, shaping the reality we experience every single day.
Definitely. It really makes you appreciate how much we don't know, right?
Absolutely. And it makes you wonder what other mysteries are still out there waiting for us to uncover them. If these extra dimensions are real, what else is hiding there? What new forces, new particles, new laws of physics might we find? It's exciting and a little bit terrifying.
Oh, for sure.
To everyone listening, I think the biggest takeaway here is keep questioning, keep exploring, and never underestimate the power of a good what if. Who knows what we'll find out there?
And